Please welcome to the stage Golden Eagle Luncheon Corporate Engagement Chair, Paul Jacobson.
Thank you, everybody. You know, you truly don't realize the impact a person, a program, a scout leader, or a community may have until you really hear stories like we've heard today. Jordan, thank you for your leadership, for your witness, for the example that you are for all of us. It's truly inspiring. My name is Paul Jacobson. I have the privilege of serving as this year's Corporate Engagement Chair and professionally as the Chief Financial Officer at Delta Airlines. On behalf of 90,000 Delta family members, thank you for also investing in the Atlanta Area Council of the Boy Scouts of America. It is my privilege, nervously so, to introduce our keynote speaker, Ed Bastian, today. I just told him backstage I'll either do this well or it will be my last day. Ed is Chief Executive Officer of Delta Airlines. He serves also as a member of the board for the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, the Atlanta Committee for Progress, the Woodruff Arts Center, and is a member on the Council on Foreign Relations. In 2018, Ed was honored as a Georgia trustee, the highest honor the state of Georgia can bestow. In addition, Fortune magazine also named him one of the world's 50 greatest leaders, and certainly all of us at Delta can attest to that. But that wasn't enough, because also Ed last year completed his second New York Marathon in support of the Rally Foundation for Childhood Cancer Research, raising $2 million for cancer research in the process. This room is full of incredible leaders, many of whom are part of companies, churches, organizations that continue to give back and shift their focus to the needs of others. This is something that Delta continues to strive to do. Joining Ed Bastian today is Kathy Waller, who I consider a friend, a mentor, and also a boss as the retired Chief Financial Officer of Coca-Cola. Kathy currently serves on the Board of Directors of Delta Airlines. So please join me in welcoming Kathy Waller and Ed Bastian.
Everybody. It's certainly nice to be here. Ed, thank you very much for being here.
Kathy, I'm honored to be here, and I want to thank the Scouts for having me. It's quite an honor to be on the stage with the great leaders that are in this room, and at the same time, I'm also pleased. I know all of you are great Delta customers too, so I appreciate what you do for us in turn.
So last year, about a year ago, Ed and I talked about him participating in this Golden Eagle Luncheon. And at the time, I didn't know that I was going to be on stage with him, so this is really exciting for me.
Careful what you ask for.
Yeah, exactly. So I have had a chance to get to know Ed and get to know for the last maybe 4 years as I've been on the board, but I didn't feel totally prepared to moderate this session, so I Googled you, and I've read everything I can get my hands on about Ed Bastian. So I'm very excited that other people are going to get a chance, not a long time, but a chance to get to know you in a different way than what they see on that video when they're flying Delta. So when I was reading about Ed, there are a few themes that carry throughout. Theme about leadership, focus on people and people development, community service, and then the idea of not compromising your values. So I hope we're going to get to some of those things today.
Great.
Okay. So Delta has been working very hard over the last decade to become the world's best airline.
Yeah.
And you can't get there without great leadership,
right.
Probably throughout the organization, but especially at the top. Right? So what leadership qualities have enabled you and your team to achieve this level of success?
Well, thanks, Kathy, for the compliment, and we do consider ourselves the best, and I think the industry, broadly speaking, as I tell everyone in Atlanta, you're all spoiled because you don't get a chance to fly as many of the other airlines, which we like. But the Atlanta community really does have the very best airline in the world as its hometown airline, and it's a great thing. Many of you have been with us for a long, long time. You remember the days of pre 9/11. You remember the good old days, as they were referred to. We went through a very difficult time through 9/11, through the recession, through a bankruptcy, through a merger with Northwest. That decade between 2000 and 2010 was probably the hardest years, clearly years of our existence. And I am so thrilled that we are where we are, but we are there because of our people. What we did during that time as we came through that cycle is we remembered what it took to make us great, and that's putting our people in a position to win, to serve our people, to not think of that we are the ones that have the answers. Our people are the solution to the challenges that we're facing, and giving them the tools and the equipment and the support to make a difference in getting out of their way. And you can call that servant leadership, because I am a big espouser to the philosophy of servant leadership, but at the same time, it's just common sense. And it was hard, it was challenging, but we worked our tail off to promote, to encourage, to give our team the confidence that they took to create. And today we are running the very best airline in the world. It's not even close in terms of number 2. And I say that with all humility and all respect for our people. The one thing that, just as an anecdote, which you may all find interesting, in 2010, which was right after the merger with Northwest, and we had it all together, we called that our summer of hell. And I'm sure many of you remember that summer of hell in 2010. It was a tough year for the airline. That year alone, we had 6,000 cancellations of flights due solely to maintenance, not having the right part, broken airplanes, things not being in proper condition. 6,000. We only fly at the main line 3,000 flights a day. So that's like canceling 2 whole days, and that's before you get the weather or any of the other factors that we deal with. Wow. We said we got to fix this, we got to get our people to support it. This past year, we had 60 cancellations in the entire year due to maintenance. Went from 6,000 down to 60. And when you have that level of excellence and commitment to serve, to put our people in position to win, that's the foundation, then everything has taken off from there.
Yeah, and I know you have people with you today from Delta.
We have
a couple tables.
Absolutely. Always great to have our Delta team with us here today.
Yeah, exactly. So a few months ago, the Business Roundtable broadened the purpose of a corporation. So purpose used to be existing to return profits to their shareholders. But now they broadened it to include other stakeholders. Delta, in 2016, when you took over Delta, you made a commitment to give back 1% of your profits to key charitable organizations.
Yeah.
At that time, you declared that community was one of your 4 key stakeholders. So you did it well before the Business Roundtable caught up with you. So what makes community an integral part of Delta's future?
Well, we're here to serve you. We're here to serve our community. We're here to serve our customers. We're here to serve the partners that stood by us during the challenging times. It took not just the people of Delta to raise Delta up, it truly took an entire community to put Delta back on its feet. And I can tell you, we will never forget the support we've received from everybody in getting us in this position to have another shot at being the great hometown airline that we are here today. Many of you are aware of our profit sharing program. Back when we were not doing too well, we promised our employees that they would have the fruits of the first return once we started to become profitable, which we have become. And over the last 6 years now running, that profit sharing plan has paid our employees over $1 billion a year of profits. They get, our people get effectively 15% of the profits. And you know what? Wall Street doesn't like it too much. And we just finished 2 days of investor meetings. And one of the joys I had was one of the leading critics of one of the big Wall Street analysts asked me a question publicly in the room as I was presenting. And he said that, I've not been a big fan of profit sharing. You and I have argued it forever. We think the profits belong to the owners and not to the employees. And he said, I have to admit, I was wrong, you were right. And again, because it's the people that make it happen. And so this coming Valentine's Day, and I always tell people the best day to fly Delta is on Valentine's Day, because that's when we distribute. And this year, that number's going to be close to $1.6 billion. So really, really incredible. And when we give out those checks, I always tell our people to thank our customers, to thank our community, because you're the ones that make this possible in terms of your loyalty and the opportunities that you give us to serve you. And a few years ago, it dawned on me, we need to have profit sharing for our community. You know, it started to get to a point, it was just too much about us. We need to have profit sharing for our community as well. And Delta's always been an incredibly charitable and philanthropic company, but it was always done year to year. It was not on a long-term committed basis. So we made the decision a few years ago to give 1% of our profits back to our community every single year. And this year that meant that we wrote checks into our community of $55 million. And it goes to support, thank you. It goes to support so many great causes around our world, not just here locally or in the U.S., around the world, whether it be Habitat, the American Red Cross, where Delta employees are the #1 contributor of blood to the American Red Cross in the country, which is amazing, 13,000 pints of blood that we gave this year. Junior achievement, organizations, and now the Scouts. This is part of that $55 million that we're here today with. And it's our way of closing the loop, the virtuous circle. It starts with putting your people in a position to win, taking good care of your customers, who then reward their owners with the business, and then the owners give us a chance to then thank the communities and the partners that we do business with, and then we just keep doing that loop year in and year out, and that's our business model.
So as a board member, I was incredibly proud. For those of you who may not know, during the Martin Luther King weekend, the government was shut down, and so the center, Martin Luther King Center, would have been shut down, and as a result of, and other key places where tourists come in, as a result, Delta kept it open, even though the government was shut down. They've paid the people to continue to work,
yeah.
And kept it open.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those moments, with the government shutdown this a year ago, that we said we had to do something. It was awful that the King Center was shut, and I didn't know we could open up a government. But the National Park Service said, yeah, if you guys want to pay for it, so we opened up the government, and from there the government did open. So hopefully we set the right leadership action in place.
I would say so. So earlier we heard from a very talented young Eagle Scout who is just going to be starting his career soon.
Great job, Jordan.
So as you think back over your career, what are you better prepared for today because someone you admired as a young person?
I've got so many people that have fed me and gotten me to where I am today, and they still do, by the way. You never stop. You never stop learning. You never stop either mentoring or being mentored by those that are important in your life. For me personally, I'm one of 9 children. I come from a large family. So we had our own little pack, in our house, and leadership lessons almost on a daily basis. And I think back to what my mom and dad did for me. And my dad, unfortunately, died early in life. But my mom, I'd say, is my hero. She's still alive, and she's doing well. And she taught me the values of integrity, inspired confidence in me, told me that there was nothing I could not accomplish. And I really believed that as a young person. I really believed that I could do whatever I set my mind to, and instilled that inside of me. And I still carry that inside me today. And so a values-led leadership, and we talk about it at Delta, which is why I love Delta, because we're values-led as an organization. Those values start at the home. And for all of us that are parents, I've got 4 children myself, just never underestimate the power that you put into the souls and the spirits and the minds and the psyche of your children and your kids, because that, I'd say, more than anything, is what got me here.
That's awesome. So Scouting strives to prepare our youth to become responsible and participating citizens and leaders. And that's challenging, especially given today's polarizing climate.
Yeah.
So I've witnessed and I've read great examples of you keeping your values and your beliefs front and center, especially as you make very, very tough decisions every day. How would you tell our youth, or advise actually all of us, to break through all the noise and to keep our values front and center?
Well, it's really important that you know what you stand for. And Kathy, you're right. In today's society, in today's political climate, and by the way, it's not just talking about here in the U.S., it's around the world.
Yeah.
We see a lot of society. There's a lot of fear in the world. There's a lot of angst. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. There's a lot of true inequality and inequity discussions that are being held. The internet has exposed, the real challenges that we have in the world more than I think any of us really appreciate, and it's a really good thing. But the problem is that I don't think enough leaders on a global stage or on a national stage are willing to stand by and step up. It really gets lonely when you're out there. And we're not trained as corporate leaders to have a voice into the world. In fact, as we grow up, and I think it's changing, right? It definitely is changing. But as we grow up, and I know I grew up learning how to be a great corporate leader, you're almost, kind of kept to, keep yourself out of the limelight. You want all 200 million, we have 200 million customers. I want all 200 million customers to love me. I don't want to take a political stance. I don't want to take something that's going to get somebody upset. And the world is more divided, is more polarized. And so whatever you say these days, you run the risk of offending somebody. So you can either step back and say, I'm gonna try to be in the background and not put my head up, or you step forward and you espouse what your company believes and the values that your company. So you need to know, first of all, your company. You need to know yourself. As a corporate leader, you can't kind of put your own personal views on it. It's got to be your company's value system. And then you speak, and then you stand tall. And then you take the heat, because the heat will come.
It will come. Yes, it will.
Thank you.
So Ed, we have a room full of leaders with us this afternoon. So as we close, tell us why the Atlanta community, and in particular our business leaders, should support the Atlanta Area Council of the Boy Scouts.
Well, the council is about leadership. It is about raising our young folks and children to become the next generation that's going to take our country, our world, our society forward. And I always speak in my company about my biggest job and most important job is training up the next generation about what it takes to be a great leader, what it takes to be a great servant, what it takes to take great care of people, the 90,000 people that I take care of. I feel personally accountable and responsible for all 90,000, and you know that, you know me well, and you know I really do wear that on my heart. And what does it mean to kind of take that next generation forward and prepare the world for that next generation? And I think the Scouts do a wonderful job of instilling at a very young age those attributes of service, of leadership, of integrity, of confidence, of opportunity, of experience. And just as Jordan said here, without the Scouts, those opportunities wouldn't come their way at such a young age. And so we're thrilled to be one of the sponsors here today.
That's great. So Ed, on behalf of Scouts, I thank you and really appreciate you being here. As a board member, I'm very proud of my service with Delta Airlines, and it's been an honor to be on stage with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you all.
So Ed, before you go too far, please join me back at the podium, Ed. So, Ed, we want to really thank you for joining us today and sharing your story with us. Atlanta is really blessed to have your leadership. We're blessed to have you in our community, and Delta really plays an important role in the community that we're in. And you've been a terrific spokesperson for the community, for Delta, and for the Scouts. So we'd like to thank you by naming a campership in your honor, and we'll be sending a Scout to camp in your name who wouldn't otherwise have a chance to go to camp. So thank you again, Ed. Terrific job.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. So I also want to personally thank Kathy Waller and Paul Jacobson for the great job that they did. They were terrific supporters of this event, and I have a special bond with Kathy and Paul as being fellow CFO and accounting geeks, as we call ourselves. But truly, I admire Paul and Kathy as terrific leaders and really appreciate their support today. So thank you, Paul and Kathy. So we're also honored to have amazing global organization, local businesses, and individuals here today supporting a cause that is so close to all of our hearts. If you weren't inspired before today, you certainly are now, and it's not too late to make an investment of choice in our youth. So if you haven't already filled out your pledge card to help us deliver the promise of scouting to all of our youth, we'll have folks by the doors at the end as you leave. I would like to say, please take a moment and save the date for next year's Golden Eagle Luncheon, which is Friday, December 11th of 2020. Senior Vice President of Coca-Cola Company and President of Coca-Cola North America, James Dinkins, will join us as our keynote speaker. The room today is filled with about 1,800 supporters. This is due to all the determination and hard work of our table hosts. So if you were a table host today, if you would stand and let us recognize you and thank you. So now, the moment we've been waiting for, and I'm here today using my LG tablet, and a special shout out to LG for stepping up their donations and contributions to scouting. But as we tallied up everything today, because of the generosity of everyone here in this room, we have raised $2.3 million for Scouts. I do know that's an increase over last year. Last year we were just around $2 million, so terrific generosity to have that number go to $2.3 million. This support will provide quality scouting program for 32,000 scouts, ensuring that every scout has a uniform, a handbook, and an amazing camping experience. So we're confident what we raise today will give us a great start, and it ensures a successful year for us next year. So please save the date again for next year's Golden Eagle on Friday, December 11th. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our program today, and thank you again for your support of the Boy Scouts of America Atlanta Council.